In Europe, politicians struggle to integrate Muslim refugees into their countries amid protests opposing them. The French don't want any more massacres. Sweden has been plagued by rape, while officials rebuke their Swedish victims to remain silent and to dress more demurely. And the United States is quietly settling refugees into major American cities across the nation. Note, while feminists continue to promote the lie that women in the West are living in a rape culture, officials and pundits are scrambling to suppress information about Muslim attacks on Western women. Continuing. Why are they doing this? Commenting specifically on what is happening in Germany, Martin Armstrong explains, quote, "The idea behind this move by Merkel has been to expand the population to sustain the tax levels and pay the pensions that are going bust. But she fails to grasp that the economy is in decline and the jobs will not appear out of thin air and cannot while government are hunting money and collapsing the world economy all for taxes." Close quote. Link to that is below. Armstrong is right, but it's even worse than that. While pundits like Harry Dent, author of several books, including his most recent, The Demographic Cliff, warns of a crash caused by a precipitous decline in the working-age population, automation is about to render the majority of jobs obsolete. Hence, they're focusing on the wrong problem. Importing Muslim refugees into Western nations, hoping that the infusion of millions of young immigrants will fill in the labor gap, ignores that there is not going to be a labor gap. Automation is going to eliminate tens of millions of jobs during the next 10 years, which means that all of these refugees are going to join the ranks of the chronically unemployed. And roughly 20% of them are fundamentalists who practice the Quran as it is written. The Quran says to kill gays, stone women for the crime of being raped, and that, oh, by the way, it's perfectly fine in their religion for their men to rape women who are not Muslims, rape them and enslave them. Do you really want to import millions of unemployed Muslim youth who, when they cannot find work, will restlessly roam the streets looking for opportunities to vent their rage? Look, I'm an agnostic and an American Indian, so I don't have a dog in the fight between religions. The historical fact is that America is a Christian nation. I know progressive neoliberals don't like to hear that and often fly into a religious rage whenever they hear that. And like pre-Reformation zealots of old, they look for the nearest stake upon which to burn all who utter such heresy. But it's a historical fact. As Christian apologists have observed many times, the neoliberals viciously attack Christians and all Christian themes like Christmas, while eagerly embracing adherence to other religions in the name of diversity. But that just shows that, like neoconservatives, the neoliberals are nothing more than pawns, useful idiots helping to destroy a nation that, imperfect though it definitely is nevertheless founded on the principles of freedom, liberty, and property. As an agnostic, I'm not invested in any religion, but I recognize that without religion to curb their appetites and elevate their aspirations, most people would behave like barbarians. So I respect the role Christianity has played in civilizing humanity, though as an American Indian, I sometimes wish and wonder what would have happened had the Roman Empire not fallen. The Roman virtues are superior to the virtues of Abrahamism as embodied by the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Had Rome reached to the Americas, civilization today would look very different, and the Americas would still be populated by American Indians. I'm not a fan of political or military empires which violate the non-aggression principle, but while the world might have been a better place had Rome endured, we could have done much worse than to be colonized by the British. If the Chinese Empire had stayed in the Americas following first contact in 1421, there would be no Indian tribes, as all would have been conquered and absorbed. Had Spain managed to hold on to California and Texas and used that as a base to sweep north to conquer the Pacific Northwest where I live, again, there would be no Indian tribes, only the vastly wealthy oligarchs and the rest of us, like in Mexico. No matter, today the West is being colonized by an infusion of Muslims whose history of violent jihad against Europe sparked the Crusades, as Stefan Molyneux recently documented in his video linked below. And in the years to come, as automation eliminates tens of millions of jobs, just how well do you think their integration into our less uncivilized society will succeed. While automation will eliminate most of today's jobs, it will also increase the quality and reduce the price of manufactured goods and many services, including in the medical sector. Scientists and engineers will have jobs, but even most medical doctors will find work hard to come by, as most diagnostic evaluations and treatments are routine, and anything that is routine can be automated. So there is no demographic cliff. Yes, as Fred Pierce outlined in his book, The Coming Population Crash, the global population will peak by around 2050 and then begin to drop below what it is today. And this is baked into the cake. But this is not a bad thing. What we face is a confluence of a declining population with increasing automation. That's not a bad thing. But we are left with the problem of supporting pensions for all the soon-to-be unemployed aged people. I say aged rather than old because there are millions of people who, since the 1980s, have been laying a foundation of good health to counter the ravages of aging. And like me, they are aging much slower than our peers. So while millions of baby boomers are suffering a decline in their health and vigor and will retire in their 60s and 70s, others like me are likely to remain active and productive for several more decades. There are not enough of us, however, to offset the crushing burden of aging boomers under the old paradigm. Fortunately, Martin Armstrong has already figured out what to do. In my very first video, which is of poor quality as I was just learning how to make videos back then, I outlined Armstrong's proposal, and it's linked below. He would eliminate all federal taxes, have the Treasury issue new money each year as a percentage of GDP to fund federal operations, including to cover things like Social Security and a guaranteed minimum income. And if we were to implement his plan, there would be no need to frantically try to import fresh blood to support the old geezers. My video and article on that, including links to Armstrong's blogs, are linked below. Our political leaders are being short-sighted and self-interested, and if they continue on this course, things will not end well. Instead, they need to implement Armstrong's plan. That's all for now. Check out the other videos, subscribe to the channel. For the Backlash at Backlash.com, my name is Rod Van Mechelen.